we got Tony calling in from Illinois. Tony, you are live on Truth Wanted. What's going on?
Whoa, hey, how's it going?
Great, Tony. What's up?
Not a whole lot. Just decided to call in. I've been a long time listener, and yeah, kind of nervous, but here we go.
Nothing to be nervous about, Tony. We'll only argue with you until the end of time about how you're wrong about everything you hold dear. Just kidding. I don't think,
or how you pronounce words.
Yeah. Just kidding. No, I think your problem is really interesting. So I think you told our call screener that you are an ex-cult member, and your ex-cult leader recently died, right? That's very interesting. Tell us about that.
Yeah. So give a little bit of a backstory. He was a campus leader.
There we go.
Hey, Tony, I'm so sorry. If you could repeat yourself real quick, because I think we lost connection with you there for just a sec.
Also, thank you to the Blind Limey who just donated $10. You're super cool and handsome.
Sorry, am I better now?
Yeah,
go ahead,
Tony. Thank you so much.
Okay, sorry. Yeah, so he was a leader of a campus organization. And to make a long story short, he got COVID during 2020 and passed away there. And yeah, during when he originally died, it was I was kind of upset about it, but then the more I realized is I was and through therapy I was I was in a cult. That was not good.
And was this an organization you spent a long time in?
Yeah, so I kind of got roped in 2010 and eventually left a little bit after I came out of the closet in 2017. So about 7 years.
7 years. That's a long time. And obviously, you don't have to give the specifics about what this organization is or even what their beliefs are. But what made you determine that this group that you were a part of was oh yeah, this is a cult actually? What was that thought process for you?
Yeah, so it was kind of just looking back on the things they suggested to me, and he specifically. I basically moved across the country because I thought God and Jesus were telling me to, and they encouraged that. They said, yeah, for sure, go ahead, drop everything.
Really?
Move.
So they wanted you to move to evangelize?
No, I ran into some trouble, and not really big trouble, but I dropped out of college, and I met these people in Texas, and then they're like, oh, you should probably move across there if that's what God is telling you to. And there's this book, I'm not going to give the name because I don't want to give them any more sales, but it was basically a daily devotional, and that you open up to a day, and every single day of the year has a devotional. And I opened up to the day I gave my life to Christ, and then I opened it up to my birthday. And it was all drop everything, follow God, do this. And then I was when I bounced off my cult leader, and he's like, yeah, that sounds good. Go ahead and do it. I'm like, okay.
Yikes.
Wow, that's really intense. And so I'm asking all these questions here. I definitely have more, but I'll pass it to you guys if you want to ask something.
Yeah, I mean, Tony, I guess I'm just really curious about how you're feeling about everything now. Watching this person, sounds like it was from a distance that you learned that he passed away. And I can only imagine the kind of complex emotions that brings up. And I'm just curious how it's all sitting with you right now. If there's maybe some strong emotions, maybe even some self-judgment or confusion over those emotions. What's your experience right now?
Yeah, I'm honestly better now, but it took a lot of time to and processing and honestly therapy. And I turned on the stream and I saw you, Christy, so I figured it would be a good time to call about this kind of stuff. But it was a lot of deconstructing and just kind of working through that kind of stuff of him, of what he said and how a lot of what he said negatively about me and my sexuality and me as a person. It was just flat out untrue and hurtful.
So was this at if you don't mind me asking, so were you like, you mentioned that you came out of the closet. Were you like figuring out your sexuality at this time? And were you like expressing that, hey, I may not be straight, and they were like explicitly against that? What was that conversation like? Did they talk about that? Yeah.
Yeah. I remember specifically, I was walking around campus with, let's just call him, well, whatever. I'm not going to say his name, but I was walking around with him on campus and kind of expressing this actually to him that like, hey, I have these thoughts, these urges, I'm thinking this. What do you think? And he said flat out to me, he's like, you would be better if you were single or chased your entire life as opposed to doing that. That was like kind of like a breaking point where I was like, oh, well, I told him like, that's not going to make me happy. Like that's not right. I won't be happy doing that.
Yeah. That's always my favorite from Christians where it's like, oh yeah, no, God loves gay people. He just wants you to not enjoy yourself or love people the way that you want to love people for the rest of your life. But you can be gay. You just can't actually be gay. You just can't be
right?
Like,
yeah. And
well,
it's bizarre.
A little bit before that too. Oh, I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Tony.
Oh, I was gonna say a little bit before that conversation, two of my friends had confessed to him, that they were like having quote unquote premarital sex and a big taboo, but they weren't even punished. Whereas I, confessed my whatever desires to my pastor, and he basically took away any opportunity or advancement for leadership. I was just a second class citizen in the church. So really, yeah.
Well, I'm glad that you have done a lot of work, and it sounds like you have worked to deconstruct all of this, to better understand all of this and come to some level of peace around it. I know that, there's no soundbite that any of us can generate that is going to like heal somebody else. But is there anything that you want to share here? Is there anything that you want to tell the audience or anybody watching right now about what it felt like to go from where you were and having to deal with those traumatic experiences to where you are now?
Yeah, that's tough. I don't know. It's hard to say what.
Yeah, I get that it's very much a process, and I don't mean to ask you to overly distill it. I'm just glad that you are in a better place now. And, I haven't heard you say this, so forgive me for assuming or implying, but it is totally valid to feel anger and aggression and frustration at this person. It's also totally reasonable to have some really complicated emotions where maybe you do feel some regret, you do feel some concern, you do feel some affinity or affection. And then, on top of all of that, if you feel mad at yourself for feeling mad or mad at yourself for feeling affection or whatever else, I guess I just want to say your feelings aren't wrong. They might not be rational, they might not be reasonable, but they're just feelings, and feelings are not wrong, and they're valid just because you're having them. And whatever it is that you're feeling, it's okay. Even if you're working to change that, you're working to change the way you think about it, you're working to change the way you feel about it so that you feel better. Of course, that's what we want for you, is to feel good, is to feel better. But however you're feeling today, it makes sense. It's valid.
Isn't it wonderful having Christy on and just say like the most wonderful things? Those of you who haven't watched Christy enough,
so wholesome.
You need to go check out Talk Heathen Atheist Experience when he makes his appearances on those shows. It's always great seeing Christy do his thing.